Alright, so you guys have all seen this at some point in your academic careers, but we're going to review it because it's going to be helpful when you're writing your screenplays. It's called Freytag's analysis. You may not know it as that, but what you probably would recognize is this. How many people recognize that? Very good. Alright. So, what would we put under this line? How would we label this?
Exposition.
Exposition. Alright, and this?
Rising action.
Point up here.
Climax.
And here?
Falling action.
And finally?
Resolution.
Alright, pretty easy. This is really basic stuff. So why is Mr. Hogan having you do this right now? Well, sometimes when we're writing scripts or writing stories, we forget that they need beginnings, middles, and ends. We forget that we need to do this. So I wanted to review this with you before you started your scripts, so that way you could make sure that your story was complete. Now, all of us have seen this many, many times in all sorts of television, all sorts of movies, but there is one thing, we can talk about movies that we've seen. Not everybody will have seen those movies. We can talk about TV shows, but not everybody has seen those TV shows. We can talk about all these different things, but there's no common thing that we can all talk about except for one thing. It's multi-generational, it's international, and it's called Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Hogan.
And Scooby-Doo is a perfect example of Freytag's analysis. Absolutely every single episode is going to have an exposition, a rising action, a climax, a falling action, and a resolution. And it's almost the same every episode. All they do is change a few clues, change a few monsters, maybe change out one of them for another thing, but it's always going to have this exact form every single episode. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch an episode of Scooby-Doo, and then we're going to come back and see if it truly does fit into this model. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to look at a Freytag's analysis, and we're going to see if Scooby-Doo truly does fit into this model. So what would be the exposition?
They find the mystery.
Alright, and then what are some of the things that happen during the rising action?
Shaggy and Scooby eat.
Alright, what else?
Daphne gets captured.
Daphne gets captured.
They find clues.
Clues. What else?
Velma loses her glasses.
Alright, what else? Split up. What else?
Confrontation with the monster.
Yeah, this Scooby and Shaggy versus the monster. Climax.
Fred comes up with a plan, but it backfires.
And it backfires. Then what's the falling action?
They figure out the idea.
Velma explains it all.
Velma explains it all. And how does every episode end? Scooby scares Shaggy and they eat. Alright, so now we have a good idea of how this works. We know beginning, middle, and end. We're going to redo this for your own Frankenstein stories so that your adaptations, we make sure that your adaptations have a beginning, a middle, and end, a climax, and we're all covered. Now, you'll notice that over here I have the 5-act play version where every act has its own significance. We want it to look a little bit more like this for your film because, well, if we do this, if your play looks like this in the hospital, is it doing well?
No.
And if, you know, it's just a little bit like this is a long way to go to get to the climax of your scene. So at least this way we have a lot of build-up, but then we have enough everywhere else to cover our bases. All right? All right, so let me hand out the iPads.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what happens next? I think we should go to festivals.